We're live.
Welcome, everyone, to Jus Dippin. As always, I'm Zane Garcia.
I am Shane Black.
And today we got a special guest for you. Sir, introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Michael Lund.
Michael Lund joining us on the track. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's his birthday!
Birthday!
Well, thanks, boys.
That's all.
That's
you-
really the only
you can
thing that
leave now.
defines me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we got a cram show for y'all here. It's been 2 weeks since our last podcast, since our last recorded podcast, and we stand here today, remember the 5th of November. Yeah, so do we want to start with TV shows or do we go sports first? Then
I was gonna make a comment here. If you hear me make vulgar comments or any noise in the background, it is because I am partaking in a charity event today. I am playing games for 24 hours straight and to help raise money for a children's hospital miracle network. So, I mean, it'll be done by the time anyone listens to this, so I'm not going to ask you guys to donate because you missed your shot. Donate right now.
You screwed up.
Just send cash to this.
Just send cash to me. And but yeah, so if you hear that, I'm doing that. It's a good cause. It's a pretty good organization. Look into it for next year. That's all.
So yeah, he will be playing games in the background. If you hear any cries of passion or rage.
Pleasure.
Mainly pleasure. But yeah, so I feel like we got a lot to go with movies this week. So
We got a fair amount.
Fair amount, yeah.
Because we did record a podcast before this, and my computer decided to hate me and delete most of it, so we have like the last 10 minutes of it. And we don't want to do that to you guys. We can't just publish 10 minutes of...
As much as everyone else would love.
We know you guys live for this, so...
Yeah. Live and die by this podcast. So, yeah, let's go to sports.
Okay.
About to enter week 8 in the football world, or week 9?
Week 9.
Week 9, yeah, we just finished week 8, so... yeah.
Halfway through.
Halfway there, man.
Holy shit, how?
I don't know.
I was already
insane.
halfway.
So yeah, 49ers are awful. We don't need to talk about them. They're second worst team in the NFL.
Hey, but you're not
And it's
the
not
worst.
that they're not talented. It's just that they can't stop the run, and they can't score points. That usually tends to be problematic in sports. If you can't stop people from scoring points, and you can't score points yourself.
You're usually going to do
That's-
poorly.
But yeah, hopefully they right the ship next year, get a quarterback in the draft or something. But anyway, on to happier subjects. The Denver Broncos have kind of righted the ship. They were on a 2-game losing streak for a while there. Had some trouble with coaches and quarterbacks and injuries and whatnot, and offensive line getting revealed. But yeah, they're on a two-game win streak now, or did they just win one game?
Two.
Two.
The Texans and the Chargers.
Texans and Chargers, that's right. Yes.
Both pretty good games, I thought, for the team.
Texans was a little more one-sided than I thought. Like as in they looked good?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you just meant good games. I was like, the Texans won one.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
It was great to be a Broncos fan, but
yeah.
not necessarily a good game of football.
No, yeah, absolutely. Broncos looked good in both games, I thought. They got the Oakland Raiders this Sunday night, right?
Battle for first place.
Battle for first place.
I don't know how to feel about it. I'm nervous. I like our odds. I like our chances. A lot of the word I've been hearing lately, and I agree with, is that the Raiders have an offense that starts to fall apart once you kind of find a weakness, rattle them, and I think our defense is certainly a defense that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our D-line seems to be playing lights out right now. I mean, Vaughn just pushing guys with one hand away, it seems. Yeah. And our secondary is playing fantastic. Even without Talib in the last game, Rivers certainly did not pick us apart with that.
No.
And he's much better quarterback in my opinion than Carr is.
Definitely more refined.
Yeah.
I think Carr is a higher ceiling to reach to.
I mean, it's hard to make that comparison just because Rivers has been in the league for so long and Carr's still new.
I would agree with that, though. I do think Phillip Rivers is better. I mean, because I don't know if you guys will agree. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, but there's a lot of this talk about Carr last year as well,
Uh-huh.
about how, it really looks like this is going to be his breakout season, all that. Then he had a really rough second half of the season.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's going to be the same. Honestly, I hope it doesn't, because it's been kind of fun having the Raiders be
Yeah, it's fun to have that
relevant.
rivalry
Yeah.
back again.
For sure.
And having the Chiefs on the side. Like, guys.
Chiefs every year, they're like in the mix, though.
Oh, yeah, and they'll go on some random, 6-game.
6-game.
But then they'll
sure.
just ultimately fail in some way.
Yeah, they'll find a way.
Spectacularly. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because I feel like the team is more or less the same from last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders team is. I know they tout their defense a lot. Which
Guess what their defense is ranked? 31.
Yeah.
So yes, it's improved from being 32nd. The
Yeah.
Browns took that spot from them.
there's all this talk about Khalil Mack being like the breakout star, but he's kind of had an average season so far. He had
low.
he had a
He's picking up. But
he had a good game last week, but against the Bucks, which again, an overtime win against the Bucks. But I mean, you can't really make that comparison, I guess, because the Falcons lost to the Bucks in the first game, and
and
we
49ers
lost
lost
to
to
the
the Bucks, so all kinds of anomalies happening.
Oh, that's a really great time to get into a game. Right when it ends. Anyway, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I hope our offense shows up.
And I think this should be an opportunity for them to
show up. Yeah,
because especially the Raiders are terrible against the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we don't have C.J. Anderson, lost him for the season, unfortunately, but look for Booker.
Booker's he's
playing well.
Mm-hmm. And I thought he did a really good job last week.
He did.
Once our O-line started to gel some.
Yeah. What I've noticed about the Raiders, the Broncos and Raiders have the same, sides of the field strengths, whereas, the matchup-wise, the Raiders are really good pass offense.
Definitely.
Broncos are great pass defense.
Right.
Raiders have a great offensive line. Broncos are great at getting to the quarterback and milling offensive lines. And then...
bad defense.
Yeah, horrible defense, and then...
Broncos offense,
not great. Not great, So it's going to be an interesting game, I think. It just whoever can, set the pace first.
Yeah.
I think will definitely determine how the game goes. And without Aqib, it always kind of I don't know how it's going to go. But I think Bradley Roby and who's the guy behind him? Kayvon Webster,
Lorenzo Doss.
Yeah, I think those guys
week had a great game.
Yeah, they're very deep at the cornerback position and the secondary in general.
The thing is, without Aqib, if our D line can get to the quarterback and create enough pressure and make them make bad decisions, we won't have to rely so much on good pass defense. Mm-hmm. I mean, and also we're not going to hear Chris Harris Jr. ever just because he's always got his man on lock.
Yeah, so exactly.
We're not throwing his way.
No, yeah.
It's really unfortunate that Aqib isn't playing in this game, mainly just because, and I didn't know this actually until recently, but I guess him and Michael Crabtree have a huge rivalry. It goes back to when they grew up in the same area.
Oh,
and
really?
so they've been rivals on the field since high school.
Wow.
And so they just hate each other, apparently.
Huh.
Wow.
And so I would have,
I'd love to see that.
People were saying, oh, it's like Josh Norman and Odell, but it goes further back than that. They legitimately just hate each other.
Yeah, Norman and Odell is just because of one game last season.
And so it's a bummer we don't get to see that, but we'll get the Raiders on New Year's Day. So hopefully we'll get to see that matchup eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that if we are to drop a game against them, it'll probably be this one, just because we usually play so well at home. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that was different last year.
True,
it was opposite, but I don't know. I mean, it's prime time. Our team usually seems to step up. During prime time. I know we lost in Thursday night football, but that's Thursday night football.
Is that really prime time?
Yeah, I hate Thursday night football.
I hate Thursday night football as well.
Oh, yeah. So stupid. And so rest of the NFL, I think what we did on that failed podcast also was surprises and predictions for the season. So go through some surprises for the season, things that have stood out to you, players, teams. Shane, what are some surprises for you for the season?
I think two of the big ones that we touched on in the
failed.
the Lost podcast.
Yeah.
How good the Cowboys and Eagles are.
Yeah, they had a great game just this last week.
That was a good game, yeah.
And I mean, I just would never expect two rookie quarterbacks to play as well as Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz have been playing for their teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ezekiel Elliott also just absolutely dominating the game.
Yeah,
as a running back, it's awesome. I like it. I love it. I love that that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see two rookies kind of become big stars in their rookie year because you don't often see that.
Yeah, and really creating a controversy over in Dallas with what do you do with the vet Romo?
What do you guys think they should do? I'm curious. What do you guys think?
I mean, in football and sports, I think you always keep it the hot hand. I think you can't let emotions and like who your friend is play too much into it.
Mm-hmm.
This happened with the 49ers, actually, the year they went to the Super Bowl with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Where Alex Smith was playing great and then got a concussion. Kaepernick came in, and then the next game they played Monday night against the Chicago Bears. I remember because they're like, this is going to be a horrible game. It's two backup quarterbacks. And Colin Kaepernick just became like the 2012 Colin Kaepernick that he was that game. So I think you've got to go with the hot hand. Who knows, though? Dallas is very... I could see Dallas being like, no, we'll go with Romo. We'll let him have one last chance. And it was kind of like last year with the Broncos as well, where Osweiler was doing good until he wasn't doing good, and then Peyton Manning came in and did enough to
get us to the Super Bowl.
Win the Super Bowl. So,
which is a good amount.
Yeah,
a good amount to do.
Yeah. So unless Dak comes out of a game because he's throwing 4 interceptions or something, or he gets a concussion or something, I don't think we see Romo back in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if I were the Cowboys, I would play Dak. I mean, I just don't see how you could walk away from how good he's playing right now.
Mm-hmm. And you don't want to mess with any chemistry with the players
exactly.
and playbook and stuff right now.
So, but I don't know. I could see them going with Romo.
Yeah,
I mean,
just because it's Romo, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be a terrible idea if they are going to ride out with Dak. I mean, there's always teams looking for a quarterback.
It's true.
They could trade, and then...
the Browns.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think it's just, newspaper writers trying to come up with something to talk about.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
there was an article about if the Broncos, if that would be a good move for them to make.
No.
Which
No.
I don't think so. But
problem with Romo is he gets hurt so much, you're going to want a really good offensive line in front of him.
Yeah, and we don't have that. So,
and every team that has a bad offensive line has no team with a good offensive line already needs a new quarterback. That's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'd also stick with Dak. I think unless he starts to really struggle. I mean, I think the past couple weeks have been a little worse for him. It's a bit of a downward trend. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't follow the Cowboys super close, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm very interested in that as well.
In the Eagles game, he struggled because the Eagles just blitzed the crap out of him. But it was impressive.
Yeah.
He caught on to it and was able to find ways around the blitz.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what really impressed me with him is that they were throwing everything at him.
Yeah, I mean he's a rookie quarterback playing like a seasoned player now, which is impressive.
Absolutely.
The rookie season.
Same with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz looked really good in that game also. It just Dallas defense kind of shined at the right moment at the end there.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's a
good matchup for sure.
It's a good one. Yeah. What about you, Michael? Any surprises or standouts this season?
Funny enough is in the Lost podcast, one of the surprises that I don't remember us talking about was the Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings being
so good. Yeah.
So good. And, making Sam Bradford really working out. Like, who could have predicted that they would have had success?
And they're on a kind of a 2-game skid right now, but I still think they're a really good football team.
They are. Mm-hmm. And I think the surprise that I have is that now Norv Turner, he stepped down as their offensive coordinator this week, and it kind of seems like all of a sudden they lose 2 games that they should have probably won. You can't really blame them for losing to Philly, like we talked about.
Philly in Philly.
In Philly. Yeah, that's a tough game. But losing to Chicago on Monday night was really bad.
Mm-hmm. Especially the fashion they lost. Like Chicago had control of that game from start to finish.
Exactly. And so they're kind of on this downward trend, and all of a sudden their offensive coordinator jumped ship. He didn't get fired, he left.
Yeah.
And so, where there's smoke, there's fire, I guess. It seems bizarre.
It is very bizarre.
And so that's kind of a surprise to me. That
Did they hire a new offensive coordinator or put someone in that position?
They promoted their quarterbacks coach, if I remember right. Who's worked with Bradford before.
Oh, okay. Maybe in Philadelphia or St. Louis or something. Yeah.
They're trying to make that work. So who knows?
Yeah.
They play another divisional game against Detroit this week. So I'm curious. But yeah, definitely a surprise for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, other big one we talked about last time was how bad the Carolina Panthers are, and how they're 2-6 now, I believe, after beating Arizona.
Yeah. Wait, who'd they beat again?
Arizona.
Right.
Yeah. Who have also not been.
Yeah. Also a disappointment.
Also a disappointment. Not as big as the Panthers, just because of how good the Panthers were last year. And yeah, we kind of boiled it down to maybe like the loss of Josh Norman and just the loss of like chemistry on that defense because they have a horrible pass defense right now.
And that's the surprise to me is that it's the defense that's causing them to not be good because their defense was so good. That's what they were known for last year.
Yeah.
I mean, their offense was good too, but like people were afraid of that Carolina defense.
Yeah.
I thought it would be the opposite way, that the offense would be what was causing them to not play well. But I mean, the offense isn't great. Certainly not great. Cam's been playing not quite as MVP caliber, but
the offense has still been able to put up like enough points to win a game. I've thought. Though.
Yeah.
But yeah, also Cam coming out and saying like, "What do you guys think about this?" He comes out and says like he's not having fun anymore. That he's getting all these hits and stuff. What do you guys think of this subject?
I think, I'm kind of mixed because I do think that, it's dangerous. He does receive a lot of hits, but at the same time, when you play the style of quarterback that he is, you're gonna get hit. Once you make yourself a running back, you're gonna get hit, and that's just part of the game. That's how you wanted to play. Like, I don't feel like it's fair for him to, become a running physical quarterback, but then say, oh no, you guys can't hit me that hard. Like,
I'm kind of in the same boat. He does take a lot of hits, and that's not good. Like, no one wants to see him get just destroyed every week like he sometimes does, but And then, there's all the conversations like, oh, if your number's not 12 or 18, you're not getting any of those calls. It's just like, but, those are pocket passers. Peyton and Tom Brady are both, that's what they do. They don't make the same kind of plays that he does.
No.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's really blowing it out of proportion. I'm on the side of like, you're playing football. Russell Wilson had a great quote I don't know when I saw it on my phone earlier today, but
he said if I didn't want to get hit, I'd be playing tennis.
Yeah, that. And I was like, and a lot of other quarterbacks and other people have come out and said the same thing. And they're saying he's getting the Shaq treatment, where like Shaquille O'Neal, when he came into the league, he was just so big, no one called fouls on him
because he was just getting fouled constantly.
He'd get fouled all the time, and they would never call it. And I mean, yeah, there's that, but like Ben Roethlisberger, I would say, gets hit the same amount with the same amount of viciousness, and he's never come out and said, like, I'm not having fun.
Completely agree.
And yeah, Ben Roethlisberger, when he was younger, he ran out of the pocket a lot, and same thing, like, he would go, like, now he's a little bit older and beat up, so he doesn't do it as much.
A little bigger.
A little bigger, yeah.
Not as fast as he used to be.
Yeah.
Still really hard to take down. Big Ben.
Yeah. No, he's still
such a great quarterback.
He's healthy, he's still great. But yeah, and I think, like, when you have as loud of a season as you did last year with Cam Newton, where he literally came out and said, if you don't want me to dance, stop me. And now everyone's like, all right.
Stopping him.
Like, they're keeping that in their minds of like, all right, we're not going to
let you dance.
We're not going to let you do anything, I
remember
and when we hit you, we're going to hit you hard.
After the Broncos-Panthers season opener, there was a segment on the Undisputed show, Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about like all the complaints from people about the Broncos hitting Cam in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Ray Lewis was on the show,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, I know Cam. I told him once, and I told him last year, if you're gonna be doing these dances, you got to get ready to get hit.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna be cocky out there,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna piss people off, and they're
Yeah.
gonna hit you as hard as they can.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like he has no one to blame but himself for the way he's being hit.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you can make the argument like maybe it's happening to him a little more, but I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Like the whole Ben Roethlisberger thing stands out to me. Like he's been getting hit like that since he came into the league.
Yeah.
And he hasn't had private meetings with Goodell.
Goodell.
Or yeah, I think Andrew Luck gets hit hard a lot too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think Andrew Luck takes a beating all the time.
God, and that's I feel so bad for Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's feel bad for him in more cases, but
Yeah.
that's that.
It just feels like Cam is finding a scapegoat to make up an excuse for why they're not playing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think Cam's mature enough right now.
Yeah, and I think maybe he kind of gets that over time a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they will get back to an elite level. There's a lot of
Yeah.
talent around that organization
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. But yeah, I think they're kind of on a like the honeymoon's over type
Yeah.
thing. Like
Mhm.
once the Super Bowl hit, they're like, oh, okay,
Oh, shit. Like,
we're not untouchable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said on a TV show, one of those like talk shows, sports shows, that like what's happening to the Carolina Panthers is like when you're a kid and you realize you're not invincible. That like
Uh-huh.
life is like pretty fragile and pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's happening to the Panthers right now in the football world. They're like, we
Okay.
weren't the greatest team ever. Like we're actually very beatable.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think that's what's happening. But all right, so let's move on to predictions for this week. So yeah, we'll start Broncos Raiders. What do you guys think?
I gotta say Broncos. I don't know if I can pick against them. But I don't know. It's anyone's game.
I think Broncos. I think defense always out trumps offense. We've seen that in the Super Bowl. Like every year that comes up, they're like
Yeah.
best offense versus best defense, and best defense always wins.
Yep.
Happened last year in the playoffs. For Broncos were the best defense,
Uh-huh.
Panthers best offense. So yeah, I think that always comes to that. I think defense always is able to out trump offenses, even though the league is kind of geared toward points.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think Broncos in that aspect.
Yeah, I'll take Denver as well. Kind of both your guys' points. I'll echo just a little bit. It's so hard to pick against your home team,
Yeah.
the team that you actually watch all the time, you follow so closely. It's really hard to pick against them. But also, I really think a big part of this game that we haven't talked about is that this is Oakland's first Sunday night game in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And
They're not used to the spotlight.
no. And will that have an effect? I don't know. But could it give the Broncos a slight edge? I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah, that they're more used to the big
Mhm.
spotlight. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. New Orleans at San Francisco.
I'm sorry, Zane. I have to say New Orleans.
Go
Just because Drew Brees.
with your head.
The Niners defense just can't seem to stop anyone, and Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks to have played the game. So I have to go Nolans.
Nolans. Yeah.
I'm a Nolans boy.
All right, Michael.
I'll also go Nolans. I'm sorry, but
Zane's
Smart
just
choice,
gonna
guys.
stand
Yeah,
out.
just 49ers are the second worst team in the league right now, guys. It's not.
not too much. But
Yeah, not too much. You know what? I'm going to pick 49ers, and let me tell you why. New Orleans has one of the worst defenses, especially
Very
pass
true.
defenses.
True.
And I think Chip Kelly will find a way to actually use the offense in this game. It's in San Francisco as well. 49ers have a god-awful rush defense, but the Saints' top running back is hurt right now. And the Saints have a pretty bad offensive line. And the 49ers have been able to rattle Drew Brees for the past couple of years. And that was with a better personnel with, like, Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman and, like, Justin Smith and essentially that 2012-2013 squad that was really good. But still, I think something about that matchup has always been on the 49ers side. So yeah, and I'm a 49ers fan, so I think they actually pull this one out.
I could see them pulling it
Yeah,
out.
they definitely could.
All right, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. This is an interesting.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, because we don't know if Big Ben's going to play.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if Big Ben plays Pittsburgh, but I can also see the Ravens winning if Big Ben is not in.
And I just looked it up this morning because I was curious. I was under the impression that he wasn't playing, but then I looked it up this morning and it says he's on track to. Yeah. Well, they always play those kind of games. You never really know until kickoff.
They don't want to tell Baltimore
exactly. And
Landry's going out. Landry Jones.
Yep.
Is that who it is?
Yes, it is. And it's wow. I'll pick Pittsburgh regardless. I just think they're a better team on
all levels.
All levels. So I'll go ahead.
I think Baltimore will win this one, actually. I think Pittsburgh's kind of in that mid-season lull right now, where they got some injured players. Everyone's kind of, they've been all a little tired. I think they just got off a bye, actually, but so maybe they're not tired. Regardless, I'm going to go Baltimore. That's always been a heated rivalry, very physical.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always ended up to me, whoever had the home field advantage usually won.
That's true.
So I'll go with Baltimore. All right, Dallas at Cleveland.
Dallas.
No reason. Do we need to explain why?
No discussion necessary.
All right, Jacksonville at Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Nicky Foles going to get the win. Kansas City.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that Nicky Foles is starting.
Yeah, it's in Kansas
City.
Good old U of A boy.
Even though Kansas City has backup quarterback and third-string running back, I think Kansas City
just bad.
Yeah. So. I also picked up Tracandrick West in my fantasy football league, so I'm really hoping he has like 4 touchdowns.
He'll have a huge game.
Yeah. All right. New York Jets at Miami Dolphins.
Another tough one.
That's a tough one, yeah.
I chose Jets, but fuck if I know what kind of Fitzpatrick will show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what makes these games so hard to call. It's like, who knows?
There's just so much inconsistent play with players this year.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. I think they're coming off the bye, if I remember right. They had the week before the bye, they beat Pittsburgh. I mean, they in that game Ben got injured, so that may have something to do with it. But, halfway through the season under a new coach, you maybe things start clicking a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I'll go with Miami.
Okay.
Nice. I'm going to go with Miami also. I think the Jets are too inconsistent, and I think Miami's on the rise right now, where the Jets are trying not to fall. They're on the cliff, just trying to stay on right now. So I'll go Miami. There's a lot of good games this week, looking at the schedule right now. The next one
a lot of divisional, I think.
A lot of divisional, yeah. Detroit at Minnesota.
Yeah.
This has big implications for my fantasy football team.
Who do you got?
I have the Minnesota defense and Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
I hope they stuff the run and they get a lot of fumbles, but I hope Stafford throws for 300 yards.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm going to have to say Vikings, just because I still think they're the better team, but Lions are playing pretty well right now, and the Vikings have not had the great past couple of weeks, so who knows? That should be hopefully a good game, though.
Yeah. I'm going to go Minnesota as well. I think Detroit's kind of been on the same kind of skid right now. They've been very slow and static the past couple games. So I think one of them's got to right the ship in this one, and I like Minnesota at home better than...
Yeah. I'm also going to go to Minnesota, even though I was saying, they're on a bit of a tough spot right now. I think they'll win this game. I have them... For those beat the leader folks out there, I have it pretty low on my confidence, but I think they'll pull it out.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just a better team. Yeah, have more talented players.
Yeah. All right, Philadelphia Eagles at New York Giants.
Eagles.
I'm gonna go Giants on this one.
All right.
I think Eagles come off a loss in Dallas. And Giants have always been good at kind of
Mm-hmm.
beating these top-tier teams
They have.
without, I mean, minus those 2 Super Bowls, without much avail in the rest of the season. So they always seem to be like the Giant killers, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to go New York Giants in that one.
All right.
Carolina at Los Angeles.
Carolina.
Carolina as well. Yep.
I think Carolina also. I think they're starting to right the ship also.
Exactly.
So,
Cam is playing better. I
Yeah.
feel like
the defense is playing better.
defense is playing a little bit better. And I'm not a Rams guy. I do not think they're a very good team.
Yeah, they're definitely not that good.
They should be too,
Yeah.
and that's the crime about the Rams is. I mean, they have such a good defensive line. Those guys should be just controlling the game, but they don't. But anyway.
Yeah. All right, Indianapolis Colts at Green Bay Packers.
Packers. This is the Colts. They're so bad. And the Packers, I know, are struggling right now, but Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, and the Colts are still bad.
Yeah.
Yep, Packers as well.
I think Packers as well. I think it's going to be a scoring bonanza, though.
Yeah.
I think it's going
Yeah.
to be at least like 50 combined points between those two.
I could see that, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, Packers. Have Mason Crosby in my league, so and
Good old CU boy.
Randall Cobb. Yeah. Yeah, good old CU boy, Mason Crosby. Yeah, and I got Randall Cobb, so I hope they both go too much acclaim in this game. All right, Tennessee Titans at San Diego Chargers.
I'm going to go Chargers on this one. It's because Phillip Rivers, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I don't know, I haven't seen enough from the Titans to make me think they could do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take San Diego as well. Titans are definitely seem to be improving,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but again, yeah, like Shane said, Philip Rivers too good.
Yeah, I'm going to go San Diego as well. I think both teams are on the rise from how they started the season, for
Right.
sure. But I think San Diego's just got so much more, and it's in San Diego.
Yeah.
San Diego's got so much more talent to provide at the moment. I think in the future, Mariota and DeMarco Murray and who's the Alabama guy that they got in the draft?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. Yeah, I think they'll be a good backfield once they get some receivers around them
Yeah.
that aren't retiring midseason. Then I think they'll be better. And like a better offensive line and defense, of course.
Definitely.
Already went to Denver, Oakland. Buffalo at Seattle. Monday night.
Oh, that's a tough one. Just because my instinct, I want to say Seattle, but they've not been playing great recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really
And
haven't
Buffalo
passed
definitely has
Jimmy
had
Graham.
flashes
Been
of
hurt on
playing
fantasy
well.
team.
Also inconsistent.
Yeah.
Buffalo. I'll go and pick Seattle. I think, again, I think they have the more talented team, just all in general.
Yeah.
They have weapons on both sides of the ball, and it's at home. They don't typically lose at home, but you never know.
Yeah.
But I'll go pick Seattle here.
I'm going to pick Seattle also. I do think Buffalo's been good in games like this where they're not really expected to win and it's on the road and stuff. But I think Seattle, like you said, they just got so much more talent and I think better coaching also.
Yeah.
And that usually comes into play a little bit. So that's the week in the NFL. Teams on a bye this week are Arizona Cardinals, Chicago Bears, Cincinnati Bengals, Houston Texans, New England Patriots, and Washington Redskins.
Okay.
Holy bye week right there.
that's a
And
lot.
like fantasy players.
Right.
All those. All right. Should we move on to TV shows?
First off, let's just give a shout out to the Cubs.
To the yes,
World
sports.
Series.
Sorry. It's Cubs.
There are other sports out there. So
Nah.
Yeah.
Who needs that?
definitely don't need baseball.
Yeah, shout out to the Cubs. We got to get going to the podcast, so I don't think we'll step on hockey and basketball quite yet.
Right.
No.
We'll get that in future podcasts. Shout out to the Cubs winning the World Series. Did you guys watch that game at all?
We did.
Yep.
We did. It was,
Yeah.
What a game.
I watched from the 5th inning on. And
That's a good time to start watching.
yeah. Yeah, what were we going to say, Michael? Sorry.
I thought it was a pretty entertaining baseball
It
game,
was.
honestly, and I'll confess that I'm not much of a baseball fan, but it was a fun game to watch for sure. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
just a good, sporting event.
Yeah.
Really.
absolutely, and
And
that's
it was-
how every
yeah.
championship is ideally.
Yeah,
done.
exactly. It was
Yeah.
close. It was
Competitive,
kind of a slugfest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's what you would want in a championship game.
Mhm.
Winner takes all.
Yeah,
But I also don't really give a shit about baseball like Michael, but
same.
I have been watching just because I have a lot of family from Chicago, so they've all been like ecstatic and riding high. So I've just been kind of following and enjoying it. But it definitely made me more entertained by baseball than I usually am.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish we could, limit the amount of times the freaking pitcher throws out to try to get the guy leading off the base out, because, oh my god, it takes so long.
And the batting warm-ups and the pitching
Yeah.
warm-ups and
Yeah.
And the coach
Switching
coming
pitchers,
out.
switching
yeah.
the pitchers constantly.
Uh-huh. Which I think actually the switching of the pitchers, especially for the Chicago Cubs in that game, made it very much more like tense for them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everyone that it was
Some interesting decisions for sure.
yeah. But yeah, like just echoing everything you guys said, I'm not a baseball fan in the slightest, but it was Game 7 of like
Yeah.
the championship, and I was like, this is what you ask for. And
Two teams that haven't been in that position for a
yeah,
while.
great just storyline, and
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, Michael, just a great sporting event. Like if you're a fan of sports, that was a great moment.
It
Yeah.
was a great moment for sure.
And I'm just happy that like 2 seasons in a row we got a Game 7 championship with
Yeah.
the NBA
Yeah.
too. Great Game 7s too.
Great
That NBA
Game
Game
7.
7 was
Oh.
amazing. Yeah, and that's just what you ask for in championships. So,
It
yeah,
is,
it was
and it's cool to see a city like Chicago finally win it
good. Mm-hmm.
after 108 years. And I just think the whole culture in that city around the Cubs is really cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't care what Rockies fans tell me. I like the Cubs culture.
Rockies fans, yeah. Half the Rockies fans are Cubs fans too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. All right, yeah. Moving on to TV shows. What have you guys been watching?
I actually haven't watched a whole lot of TV just because I've been trying to take a break from sitting and watching stuff after finishing my month of horror.
Yeah.
But I watched The Walking Dead,
Mhm.
and we touched on it in the Forever Lost podcast. But season premiere of that, incredibly brutal. It's kind of gonna be a brutal season, I think.
I saw there's a tiger, like a guy with a tiger in the
Yep,
show now.
King Ezekiel.
Sounds pretty cool.
That
Yeah, I
was-
saw a picture of it. I was
yeah.
like, oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that guy's cool. I don't follow the show, but I've been watching it with Shane, and that guy's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a badass in the comics too.
Yeah, I've never been able to get into that show. I've tried watching
Yeah.
it a few times, but
I mean, I definitely think that it helps that
You read the comics.
I've read the comics and
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
you
from
kind of
that.
knew the characters.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
You were already invested in it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's good to hear. Good to know The Walking Dead's thriving. All right, Mr. Lund, what have you been watching?
I've been mainly watching Black Mirror, the sci-fi Twilight Zone-esque show that Netflix picked up to do more episodes of,
Mhm.
British originally.
Yeah.
And it's funny that in the Forever Lost podcast, I had only seen the first episode at that point, which I didn't really like. I didn't personally enjoy the episode that much, and so I was a bit nervous to keep watching it because the previous seasons have been personally some of my favorite TV I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I kept watching and really have enjoyed actually I've seen the 3 following episodes,
Mhm.
and they've been phenomenal. Unfortunately, I heard it kind of gets not as good to close out, but those episodes, like, I can't say enough. If you have not seen the show, like, you really do owe it to yourself. You gotta check it out.
Gotcha. And each one is made by a different director. Right?
That's right, Different director, different cast, every episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Twilight Zone in the sense that they're not connected. They're just kind of different stories every time. So, really enjoyable show.
Nice. Good to hear. And yeah, maybe that's a reason for the inconsistency.
I think so.
It's
And they're
like just different visions,
different ideas that, they can connect with some people and not others.
Yeah,
Because I've heard some
exactly.
people that did like the first episode, and that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to each their own in that sense.
exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's definitely. And I keep hearing great things about that show. Another podcast I listen to has 2 full episodes just talking about that show. And,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
if other people have seen that episode, I there's so much to like talk about.
Yeah.
So, that's cool.
Nice. Great. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of TV.
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob.
Catching up on
Dora. Yeah.
that. I hear they finally canceled SpongeBob.
Oh, really?
I
It's
didn't
still
even know
going?
they were still making new
Yeah.
Yeah,
episodes.
they've been making new episodes still for a while, but
They
I hear they're
finally
finally ending it.
Put it in the
Sad.
grave.
That's my childhood, and even though it's been not great for several years now.
Yeah, they tried to keep it going, but
God, I love that. The old episodes of that show are just so
those
good.
first
So
2 seasons,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
Um,
Anyway, sorry.
my time.
Right,
Yeah,
this is
so
the main show.
New Girl, one of my favorite shows. They're on a break right now. I think they come back next week. So yeah, but yeah, their new season.
Xbox, record that. Sorry, that didn't
Hold
work.
on, we got
Xbox, record that. Thank you. Sorry, I had to talk to my Kinect there.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure it got recorded too.
Oh, it did.
Nice. Anyway, yeah, New Girl. They did a again. Yeah, I went over this in the Forever Lost podcast, but the new season's been great. All up into they did a crossover with Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it was neither of the episodes were great. Like New Girl was able to crack the same jokes that they usually do, and like get me laughing and stuff. But there was no reason for the crossover. They really forced themselves into it. I think this. Like Fox just came up with the idea, and they're like, "Why not make both of them together?" But like, New Girl takes place in Los Angeles, Brooklyn Nine-Nine takes place in Brooklyn, so you had to find a way to, and like the whole police station can't go to Los Angeles,
Yeah.
So you had to, they like really forced a way for the New Girl cast to move to New York, or not even move, just like go on there for a vacation. So,
Gotcha.
but yeah, I thought it worked for the New Girl episode. I watched the Brooklyn Nine-Nine episode, which I'm not a fan of that show, so
Okay.
it's really tough to get through that, but. Had funny moments, had funny characters, but overall, I was not impressed with it. Other than that, New Girl's been great.
Verdict.
Yeah, I still recommend New Girl. Every episode, like outside of that one, has been gold to me. Like from the first season, first episode ever. And that was the first one where I was like, that wasn't that good. I'm not gonna revisit that ever. So, and then The Flash.
Maybe catch up on that.
I watched season 1 of The Flash. Season 2 I missed, and I just completely skipped over because Season 3's out, and so I've just been watching Season 3, and I feel like I'm all caught up. I feel like they've explained everything I needed to know that happened in Season 2. There might have been little, like, things here and there that I missed that they won't touch on again, but they're not going to touch on it again. It must not have been that important, so. But yeah, even, like, talking about what that season entails is going to be a spoiler for...
Yeah, I haven't
Shane
caught
over here.
up, so
Yeah.
you're out of luck.
But yeah, it's same as it ever was. Like if you're a fan of the Flash, you're gonna love season 3.
It's not a good show, but
Yeah,
it's a very entertaining one.
Yeah, and it's fun to see. Like they really do the Flash character justice, I think.
Yeah, the guy is really good as Barry Allen.
Yeah, and that's one thing is like as kind of like campy and like cheesy as the show gets at times. Like I think all the acting is always pretty genuine.
Yeah.
Which is rare to see in those shows. Usually there's like one guy who's
shoehorning it in.
doing it where everyone else is just kind of just
Not good.
like cartoony. Yeah. So I've been impressed with that. CW, I hope they get a bigger budget in the future because their CGI is awful.
It's really bad. It's pretty bad.
Every time they have a villain who needs to be CGI'd, it just looks horrible. It looks like Sci-Fi Channel.
It does.
So yeah, but yeah, I've dug it so far. I think it's 5 episodes in so far. Yeah, and then started Luke Cage. I think I'm 5 episodes into that one as well.
Oh, you're farther than me.
Yeah, I really dug the like pilot episode. I was very into, very much liked it. And each episode after that has kind of gotten a little less for me.
Okay.
Each one, it's kind of went from this very like new dynamic way of like superhero one to just a very like the same thing as any other Netflix superhero show, which isn't bad. Like it's
Necessarily.
better. Yeah, necessarily. But it's just kind of it feels like it's just another.
It's the same.
Like cog in the formula.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So, yeah, little complaint on that. But yeah, that's what I've been watching. So, do you want me to go first on movies?
Sure.
All right, I'll go quick. Again, all these. So I actually haven't seen any new movies since last time we talked, and so I'm just going to rehash everything I did in the Forever Lost podcast.
That podcast.
So yeah, Girl on the Train. I just went and saw it alone one day.
Needed the touch of a woman.
So yeah, I needed the touch of a few women in that show. Emily Blunt, I needed to hear her voice.
Don't blame you.
But yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was entertaining. Probably won't make my top 10 of the year, but it was a fun, like, kind of mystery thriller.
It's a fun rom-com.
Yeah, it's got some twists and turns. Hard not to compare it to Gone Girl.
Yeah.
Very similar storylines, very similar, like, feel and, like, tone. But Gone Girl, I think, just had a better story to start off with, and I think had better talent around it, directing wise, like
directed Girl on a Train. Is anyone like super well known?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I will use the smartphones.
Technology.
Yeah, and yeah, what I thought was unique about Girl on the Train is it plays a lot with like what's real and what's not, because the main character is an alcoholic, and it's told almost completely through her eyes. And so a lot of it's like, is this really happening? Is this mixture of events that she thinks is happening? Is this a mixture of her imagination, like what she wants to see happen? And so they play a lot with that and like go with like inconsistencies about that.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the game.
No, yeah, no worries. And then after a while, like the inconsistencies build up, and there's some towards the end where I'm like, I don't know if that was meant to be inconsistent. That didn't seem like it should have been that way. And I don't know if that's just like they realized there was a couple inconsistencies, and they're like, well, we can fix this if we just put a few on purpose ones in the beginning, or if it was all on purpose. I don't know. Or if it was just that, they were.
But I mean, there's also a difference between being on purpose and being a good twist, and being on purpose and just being a bad twist.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, there's a couple twists and turns, but then like towards the end you kind of catch on, and it kind of drags a little bit at the end, and you're like, okay, I know where this is going. Just go there already.
Yeah.
And
you're
so
not
it does
hiding it.
Yeah, it does drag a little bit at the end. But yeah, great performances. Had great. I thought the direction was still good, for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, and you said you were reading the book.
Yeah, I am reading the book. And almost it's pretty similar. Yeah. It's a really entertaining read.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not trying. I think it's the author's first book.
Oh, okay.
If I remember right, I could be wrong there.
J.K. Rowling.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the new author that's sweeping the nation, J.K. Rowling.
Exactly. So I kind of think it's the same thing. I haven't finished it, so I can't kind of speak to those inconsistencies that you're talking about. I'm curious. Mm-hmm. But they definitely do play on that, if she's drunk, you're not necessarily getting the truth being portrayed. So I don't know. Very interesting. I'd like to catch the movie at some point.
Yeah, and then another one I saw in theaters by accident, kind of, was The Accountant, the Ben Affleck movie. Had a lot of stars in it, which kind of confused me because I didn't like the movie. The movie was pretty awful. But yeah, I meant to go see the movie The Birth of a Nation, and I looked up times at one theater, and then mistakenly went to another theater, and then realized, oh, there's no Birth of a Nation playing here. And the next movie that was showing was The Accountant, and I was like, well, all right, I'll go with it. So that's how I ended up seeing The Accountant. And it's pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
That's a bummer.
It is a bummer. I'm a Ben Affleck fan, big Anna Kendrick fan, J.K. Simmons fan.
So everyone that's in that.
So everyone that's in it, yeah. And that's why I was like, yeah, I'm fine going and seeing this movie. But it tries to be too many things at once, I think, and it's a very long movie. It tries to be like a Bourne movie. It tries to be like A Beautiful Mind in ways, and it tries to be like a romance movie as well. And it does not feel like the same movie at the beginning
as it does in the
middle, as it does in the end. Like it changes, shifts all over the place. And like a lot of characters don't make sense, especially like for a while you're like, okay, they're gonna all be a piece of this big puzzle, and then they just don't, or that like the reason they're there is pretty stupid, and you're just
okay.
like, why did this need to happen? You're really reaching for this. Like the Anna Kendrick character, I love Anna Kendrick, and I think she does a great job in this film, like playing her role. But if you take her character out, it will literally change nothing to the plot. It'll take out a half an hour of the movie essentially.
Which in those long movies, I'm usually for.
Yeah,
it's
it would have been nice. But I mean, also, it's always nice to have Anna Kendrick in a movie.
Yeah, no complaints there.
Yeah. At least you get something nice to look at while you're just slogging through it.
I think
Sorry,
she's also
not
a great
sexist.
actress.
Not sexist. My apologies.
But yeah, and I like acting wise, I think that everyone did a good job in playing their roles. It's just that like the writing and the direction is not great.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just so much. But I was never like bored in the movie. I was continually just thinking to myself like, where are they going to go next with this?
Sure.
Like that point A did not lead to point B in the last situation. I want to see what the next point is just to see where this goes. John Barenthal, the guy that plays Punisher in the Daredevil TV show, is in this, and he does a great job.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
I love John Bernthal.
And he's like very underused for a lot of the movie. I was like, wow, this is interesting that he's this guy. And unfortunately, this movie did not do very well critically, and so I'm not gonna see any memes about like Batman and versus the Punisher type stuff, unfortunately. But
damn.
Yeah.
Those are one shot.
Yeah. Also, like going in line with Batman, it's very much like Batman, whereas like Ben Affleck is this guy who's kind of gone through some hardships before and has a lair and is going after a villain and stuff, and is doing it because he wants to take down the bad guys and just kind of take evil out of the world. And he has a little buddy helping him out.
Little Alfred.
Little Alfred.
He's got like an oracle in it. There's like a voice that just calls him every now and then.
Okay.
And she just gives him assignments. Except like sometimes they're like, yeah, go kill this guy. Or sometimes they're like, hey, this company needs to figure out their financial stuff. Can you go help them? And I'm like, what is that? Why is she doing both?
Yeah. Do some auditing.
Yeah, like, he actually does some accounting stuff in the movie.
Hey, dude, I need to help moving.
Yeah, I need you to go help this guy move.
Pizza and beer will be provided.
Yeah.
Thanks, Oracle.
Thanks, Oracle.
So yeah, I was pretty disappointed in the movie.
It's a bummer.
It is a bummer. Yeah, and like I said, I'm surprised so much talent was a part of this.
Yeah.
And what I think happened is that, like, whoever was selling this movie had to have the sell of their life, and like knew exactly, and they just had to get one guy on board. The director is the guy that directed Warrior.
Oh,
so
that's a great movie too.
Yeah. So he's had a good, and that's what I'm thinking. Like the studio knew they didn't have a great movie, but they're like, we can probably get a lot. We can sell this though.
Yeah,
because it was advertised like constantly.
Yeah.
For well before it came out too. I feel like.
Oh yeah. And so, like, I'm thinking they either got the director or Ben Affleck on board first, like one of those giant names, and then it's not just like, hey, let's do this movie that's kind of about autism, but is mainly just
kind of about autism.
We're just going to use an autistic person in this role and not really touch on it ever. And they sell it really well to one guy, and then instead of selling it like the same way, you're like, well, Ben Affleck's on board, or like this guy's directing it, and then you get the next person, and then it just kind of builds up to the point where you're like, yeah, we got all these people. You sure you don't want to do this, J.K. Simmons? And he's like, you know what? I probably do want to do this.
Where's the script? You don't need to read that.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
We got you covered.
I also wouldn't be surprised if like everyone didn't read the whole script. Like they just gave everyone their characters, and they're just like, just roll with this. Because I could see like a lot of the characters are like, oh yeah, this is a good role for me. And then in the full picture, you're like, no, you have no purpose in this movie. Anna Kendrick. J.K. Simmons, even at the end, you're like, what? What?
Yeah, that's sad because J.K. Simmons is great.
Yeah, man. Anyway, yeah, I'd give it like 4 pickles out of 10.
4 pickles out of 10.
Yeah, Girl on the Train, I'd give it like 7. I'll give it
7 pickles. Okay.
7 pickles out of 10.
Solid
Well, we're
flick.
talking.
Yeah, and then
7 pickles is a great
7
rating.
pickles. And then, as always, had my library movie. Had V for Vendetta. It's very cool. We're doing it on this day. It's kind of good. The podcast.
It's in November.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Michael!
Happy birthday, Michael!
Thanks, boys.
Remember, the 5th of November.
Makes it easy to remember.
Makes it easy, yeah. They made a movie of it.
Exactly. I don't. Never got contacted about it for some
Still
reason,
waiting for the
but,
paychecks,
yeah.
They kind of, they really overset their boundaries there.
But yeah, I dug that movie. It was a lot lighter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
In the past, I thought it was just this very like dark, like Watchmen type movie, where it's like a very dark, like graphic novel adaptation. But yeah, it was a lot lighter than I thought. Like they're cracking jokes and stuff, and particularly the like V guy. He was like a lot lighter than I thought he was going to be, and he was like a really nice guy. I thought he was just like a pure, just like, all right, I want to take down the government. I want revenge.
Okay, go for it.
But yeah, he was very rootable. Like I was rooting for him the whole time.
Nice.
Good acting all across the board. It's a lot more British than I thought it was going to be.
Hello.
I don't know why I thought it was in America, but yeah, it's not.
Wait a second.
Yeah, somehow the whole British cast did not strike me that it was going to be British. Yeah.
It's usually a pretty good indication.
Usually, yeah.
Guy Fawkes, British, but you know,
Yeah.
don't worry about that.
A very British like personnel around it. Whatever. But yeah, I'd give it 8 pickles out of 10.
8 pickles.
8
I would
pickles.
agree with that.
Yeah, and then 2 other. We can skip that one. Also watched the Hamilton PBS documentary that they had, and it's part of their new thing where they take a show and do like a documentary from, like
Opening night, or
like
do they go
like
before
even
that?
before that, like a
Cool.
year before opening night.
Oh, sweet.
To like when the main stars leave. And so they did that with Hamilton, which I am a huge fan of Hamilton, very big fan. So I listen to at least a song of Hamilton probably every day. Just
Nice.
driving in my car, it comes up on the iPod. I'm like, all right, I'll listen to this.
I'll go with it.
Yeah, and so I think it's the greatest musical out there right now.
Okay.
But so they did this Hamilton documentary, and I thought it was going to be a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So I was very excited to see that. And they do that to a degree, and they show like Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is the writer and plays Hamilton and like the sole creator of this whole thing, and shows him like talking about how he just went on vacation and read this Hamilton biography and just got like felt possessed that he had to like he just started writing songs right away. And like writing lyrics and stuff, and he just like saw it as a hip hop, like he saw it as like a very
That's cool.
Tupac versus Biggie thing of like, oh, this is exactly like hip hop, like this is got hip hop written all over it, and found a way to kind of put this story that's not like American Revolution, like we know like how that goes down, but it's told from a different view, told from a different standpoint and stuff, and like points out characters that I never knew existed in history, like Hamilton. I didn't know he was as big as he was in history. Or
I didn't even know he existed.
yeah, right. I thought he was just a guy known for $10. But yeah, so I know a lot more about American history as well after
Cool.
listening to
Yeah.
it. But it was cool hearing him talk about how he got to there. But then after a while, it just gets to telling you the story of the musical. And for me, I was like, I know. Like I've been listening to this for a year already. Like I know what the story is here. So a little disappointed in the end. It kind of, and then it did sprinkle in every now and then. They talk to other characters and how they thought about their roles and stuff. Like it was interesting hearing the guy that plays George Washington. It's like this very big like black guy, and he's like going through George Washington's home and he's talking about like the thing that bugged me the most, and I almost didn't take the role, was that George Washington owned slaves, and I was like, oh yeah. I guess that would bug you, yeah. And he was like walking through and stuff. He's like, it's hard to ignore and whatnot. So I thought it was cool hearing about that. But I just think it got too much caught up in, and I mean, it's also trying to promote it to other people that haven't seen Hamilton. So I understand why they did it all, but I just wish there was more behind the scenes stuff. With that. So yeah, that's what I got for movies. It is all you.
Oh shit. Okay. Just give me 1 second.
No worries.
Here, I'll start out. I'll get to my horror list in a second when I'm not playing a game.
Yeah, how long are we going here, by the way?
I don't know.
I feel like we've gone a while already.
Let's see here. Let's check our time.
While we're in a
59 minutes.
Oh, around an hour. All right.
I'll just quickly go. I've only watched Shane's movies that he's watched. I haven't watched anything on my own, so I'll let Shane definitely talk about those. But the only thing that I did watch without Shane was watching The Nightmare Before Christmas for the second time. The first time was with Shane. The second time in that day was with Danny. So, I that's what I've seen. Great movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one's an easy
movie.
one to watch like twice in a day. It's very short.
It's
it's
short,
like an hour,
it's easy,
it's fun.
great. Yeah.
Great music.
Yeah. It has, especially like around Halloween and Christmas. Like,
Perfect.
yeah.
You don't get much
It's
better
kind
than
of
that.
both. It's both a Halloween and a Christmas movie.
Exactly.
More of a Halloween, I would say.
That's
still
why I watch
confuses
it.
me why they play it on like Freeform now.
See, I typically watch it on Christmas. I don't know why. It's not that I consider it a Christmas movie. It's just like when I watch that movie. But
Yeah, well, like
this year
it's
was
on
obviously-
TV all the time.
It's
around
on
Christmas.
TV all the time. Me and my brother like to watch it
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve, and I don't know. I like it both.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. Let's get to my movie list. Fuck it, I'll do it. So we left off. So in the podcast that never was, I made some progress on sharing my list, but it never was, and so that's lost. I have to start over again. I'm just gonna go through these real quick because there's a lot of them. The last one we left off with was Evil Dead, right? That's what we decided, correct?
Yeah.
So Evil Dead, the
2013.
remake, great movie. The next movie I watched was Lights Out, which is a new horror movie this year. Had a lot of potential, didn't quite live up to it, unfortunately. Great concept for a horror movie, absolutely terrifying in my opinion, but it fell into too many horror movie tropes and cliches and traps that you hate to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it had some really really creepy moments that I really enjoyed. So overall, not worth not. It's worth seeing. If you want a movie that just to kind of watch and enjoy, that's definitely a horror movie you can do. The next one I watched was It Follows. Great movie, great film.
Yeah,
one of the best horror movies to have come out in the past few years. For you guys who don't know the basic premise, it's basically an STD.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like this curse that's transmitted by having sex with someone, and once you have it, there's just this thing, and they never explain what it is, but it's just this creature that's out
Sexually
there.
transmitted demon STD.
STD.
Oh.
Zane wins the podcast. But yeah, so you have it, and there's it just is always walking towards you. It's always trying to find you, always trying to get you.
Mm-hmm.
It never runs, it never stops. It's just always constantly walking. And once it gets you, it really fucks you up.
Literally.
Yeah, literally will fuck you. But anyway, but it's such a great movie. So good. Great cinematography, good writing, good acting, all of it. Really can't recommend it enough. Thank you, Michael, for scrolling up for me. The next movie I watched was ABCs of Death, which is an interesting one. It's
I hope that song was in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Unfortunately,
I
it
wouldn't
was not.
Close the movie
Oh
with that.
my
Yeah, that's a
God.
great
Yeah,
bookend
yeah.
song. That.
It would work too. Well, the movie is an anthology film, and it's a really cool project. What they did was they took 26 filmmakers or like groups of filmmakers, and they signed everyone a letter of the alphabet, and they had to come up with a 3 to 4 minute short that had to do with death that started with that letter. And as most anthology films are, some shorts are really good, some others are really bad. Unfortunately, I think most of them are pretty average, in my opinion. It's hard to do a lot of stuff when you only have 3 to 4 minutes to tell a story.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. It definitely was a fun movie to watch, and even the bad ones were like kind of funny. So like I got a lot of enjoyment from that. But and also the good thing is, if you're not enjoying one, you got 3 minutes until the next one starts. And so you're good to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, yeah, I started watching it the night I had to, had a breakup happen, so it helped me get through that. So always give it massive props for cheering me up.
Absolutely, that's
Not
a whole other pickle, I'm sure. Right?
Yeah, and nothing gets you through heartbreak quite like death. So it's a good movie if you're having a hard time with the ladies or men. Again, not sexist. It's a good one to watch. And then the next one I watched was Come Back to Me. It was a little Netflix movie that was recommended to me by a friend, Scott Harris. Thank you for this recommendation. It's a really cool concept. It's not quite a good movie, but I really like the concept of it. It's about this woman who has a lot of frequent blackouts, and then she wakes up like covered in blood, and she doesn't really know what's happening or what's going on, and she's like imagining all this stuff's happening, and all this kind of creepy stuff happens, and there's a weird neighbor, so that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so definitely it's free on Netflix, so check it out if you want. Yeah, no reason not to, no harm done. And then the next one I watched was the original Evil Dead from 1991, and then I'm just going to group them all because after the 2 nights after that I watched Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, the next 2 movies in that trilogy. And that's just, what a trilogy that is. Those are just fun
good sloppy
movies.
Fun, really.
Just
yeah.
really... like, I'm still not sure what the first one wanted to be, but they really owned up to their campiness and, like, poor writing and everything in the second and third ones, and just made it a really fun movies to watch, and just really, really owned up the fact that they're not good. Yeah. And I always enjoy movies like that. Those are always fun to watch. And the next one I watched after I finished up those was my all-time personal favorite horror movie, which is The Conjuring. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it because it's so freaking good. If you're a horror movie fan, you owe it to yourself to watch this. Everything about it is just about perfect to me. Camera work is incredible. Characters are great. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga do great jobs as Ed and Lorraine Warren. And it's terrifying as hell. I've watched it so many times, and it still freaks me out when I watch it. So that's a mark of a good horror movie. And then after that, I watched The Conjuring 2. Makes sense, right? And man, James Wan, I don't know how he does it, but he can make a horror movie sequel like nobody else, because that is freaking hard to do, and he's done it twice, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And Conjuring 2 is just, it's on par with the original, I think.
Eric and I were talking about how we haven't seen that one yet.
Uh-huh.
We want to, because we both like The Conjuring a lot as well.
I mean, it's different, and that's good. It doesn't feel like you're watching the same movie necessarily. It takes place in England, different story, different family, which always helps, and it's just a good movie. I really, really enjoy that movie. And then that sparked me to do kind of a James Wan fest afterwards, and so that week I just watched a lot of James Wan movies. And one that I watched after that was the first Insidious, which is... I've heard a lot of mixed things about that movie. A lot of people think it's too cheesy, too campy, and I can understand that, but I love it. I love that movie. I think it's super fun to watch, super fun to just kind of hang out and chill and let it play. Surprisingly funny parts. Again, really good...
Yeah,
just Insidious and chill.
It's Insidious and chill.
Really great camera work. James Wan always has great camera work in his movies because he's a god. And so great movie. After that, I watched Insidious Chapter 2, which is the other horror movie sequel that he's done that he's just killed it, and that movie just takes the premise of the first one and it expands upon it in so many great ways, and in ways that I wasn't expecting them to. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. I thought it was so good and so creative with what they did. And then after that, I watched Insidious Chapter 3, which he didn't actually direct. Excuse me, taking a sip of water. He produced, and the writer of the first two that co-wrote it with him was the director Lee Winnell. And Michael saw this one with me.
I did.
It's not as good. It's not as good as the first two. It relies far too much on jump scares and just kind of the cheap horror movie tropes, which, are effective sometimes.
They get me like nothing else. I don't know what it is, but jump scares, can't do them.
And it's a different characters too, so I don't know. Just doesn't get me as much as the other two. And then after that, I watched the first Saw, which a lot of people don't know is that James Wan came up with that entire concept and the entire series, and he wrote and directed the first one. And great movie. The first Saw is so good. It's not like gory and torture porn like the series became and like what gave it its reputation of being so, but it's just like simple. It's really well written. The twist is one of the best twists in movie history, in my opinion, and it's just a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. There's maybe one or two parts where it gets could be a little queasy, but nothing compared to the others.
Yeah, that one's the most tame one, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
the
the most
whole
tame
series.
one.
They definitely amp it up for the next few.
They decide that they don't want story anymore.
Yeah.
And so,
After Saw
yeah,
3.
exactly. After that, I watched Saw 2, which he didn't make, but is like the last really great Saw movie, in my opinion. Love Saw 2. Really great traps. It does a good job of building and being a bigger movie than the first one, but not like losing track of itself and being too complex. It's still a pretty simple premise and really good twists as well that make sense and are smart. Like I said earlier, there's a difference between having a twist that's good and well written than just having a twist that's bad and being there for the sake of having a twist. And Saw 2 still maintains its twist that makes sense and is good, whereas the later films, God, their twists, like though entertaining, are just terrible and unnecessary. And so I watched that, and then I decided to watch the first Paranormal Activity movie. I decided to go on kind of like a trip of finishing a series that I hadn't finished before.
Okay.
And so I've seen all but the last Paranormal Activity movie. And so I watched 1 and 2, and 3. I watched the first 3, that's right. And I love those movies. I really do like the Paranormal Activity movies, at least the first 3. The first one's just kind of a good, simple, spooky movie.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who have like criticized it for not being like terrifying, but I think it's just not the kind of horror they expect it to be. It's not really like an in-your-face jump scare, things popping up everywhere. It's just like all the things going on in the background and the noises and all that.
Yeah.
It really plays up on the whole like being home alone and like feeling like you're not alone. And the feeling of isolation that comes with it, too, which makes it really scary to me. And the second one has a lot of the same stuff, but like Insidious 2, it takes the premise of the first one and changes it up in a really cool way that I remember when I saw it when I was, like, I don't know, 17. I was like, oh, no, they did not pull that off.
Yeah.
It's a really cool twist, almost, and it doesn't even... Not even a twist within the context of the movie because you understand and see it coming, but once like it happens and you realize like the ramifications it has on the first movie, it's like, oh shit, like that is not what I thought was happening.
Yeah.
So, but a very good movie, and the third one is just freaking terrifying. It's the scariest of the series. Probably one of the scariest movies I've watched.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
that one's really scary.
It's still the most scared I've ever been in a theater watching a movie for the first time. I remember when I went to the midnight premiere of that, like my freshman year of college, I literally felt sick by the end of it and wanted it to end.
Wow.
Because I was just like, I'm so freaking scared right now.
Too much right
yeah.
now, yeah.
Like, I'm so happy that I'm scared, but at the same time, like, I don't know how much more of this I can handle.
Yeah.
So that, I really love that one. And so then I skipped to the end, and I watched Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension.
Yes.
Not a good movie.
Had you seen the Chosen ones?
I saw the marked ones. And that was actually a surprisingly really good movie.
Oh, okay.
I didn't watch it, but I actually was, when I first saw it in theaters.
You had seen it before.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I was surprised with how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really cool concept, and it's a spin-off, and so it has really nothing to do too much with the other characters, but it explains a lot of what is going on, basically, like the basic premise.
Oh, okay.
And it's good. And it has a really cool ending, but the ghost dimension, wow. I mean, it was kind of entertaining to see them finish the story that I had followed for a while,
Yeah.
but, like, none of the same characters are in it.
Uh-huh.
And, like, they don't even have Katie, who's, like, the main villain of the series. She doesn't make an appearance. And then it just, like, ends. And it's like, oh, well.
There that was.
And also, the whole premise is that there's this camera that can see the activity and, like, see the demon and stuff. And so, all of a sudden, like, you'll have, like, shots from normal cameras, and we'll have the shot of the ghost camera. And it's just, like, all this, like, black fog
There
just,
it
like,
is.
hanging from the ceiling. And it's just not scary looking, really. It's just, I don't know, it's not as scary as the other ones were, so.
It just, and to my complaint, is it relied a lot on the jump scare.
Yeah.
That's all it had.
Yeah, it was just uninspired.
Which the other movies didn't rely on.
Yeah, the other movies just gave you, like, this creepy feel, and that feel just intensified throughout.
Exactly.
Absolutely. This one was exclusively jump scares.
Yeah, so that was really disappointing, just because it started off so strong, and has such a great premise, and they just ruined it.
Yeah.
It's an example of a series just kind of writing themselves into a hole, and they're just not entirely sure how to get out of it. And then, so after that, I watched Cabin in the Woods, which is fantastic movie.
I've still yet to see the whole thing.
Oh my god, so good. If you go into it expecting it to be a horror movie, you're going to be disappointed.
Oh, no, yeah.
It's a movie about horror movies.
Yeah, isn't it, like, both a horror movie and, like,
comedy,
a spoof on horror movies?
Yeah, exactly. It was written by
not like
excuse me.
Not like a scary movie franchise.
Yeah, not like a parody, but like it's a dissection is a good word
okay.
for it. It's written by Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard. And it's just about these kids who go to a cabin in the woods, just like every other horror movie. But they start to explain why, like, these horror movies exist and all this stuff, and it's just really creative. It's really funny, and it makes a really good, like, statement and point about the state of horror movies. So we're having more company coming in for the end of our podcast here. What up, Scott?
Yeah.
Scott Murrow, everyone, is joining us.
Hey, Scott Murrow here.
Scott Murrow, we're recording a podcast. So, yeah, I watched Cabin in the Woods. Great movie if you haven't watched it. After that, I watched The Witch. Which is, as of right now, might be my favorite movie of the year.
Pretty good. It's definitely my top 10 as well.
Just a great movie. So terrifying.
Really good movie.
So scary, but really well written, well filmed, well written. I already said well written.
We get it.
We got to read it.
You need to know, Zane. So
How well written
I don't
this
want to
movie
talk
is.
too much about it because you just need to see it. Sheeple.
Yeah, that's one where, like, you talk too much about it, you're gonna get
Kind of do a
Yeah.
spoiler bit.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
less you
exactly.
know is better.
Yeah.
After that, I'm getting slaughtered by a Titan right now. I finished off the other series I wanted to finish with good old Saw 3D.
soft.
And what, just like Paranormal Activity, Saw 3D ended the series on such a terrible, terrible note. So bad, just
Did Saw
complete
3D
garbage.
end the series?
Yeah, they're making another one, but it was supposed to be the final chapter. But now they're making Saw Legacy, which is like a reboot.
Wait, is Saw 3 and Saw 3D the same thing, or are those
No,
two different?
no,
Okay.
Saw 3D is technically the 7th movie.
Oh, okay. I see.
And
But they have saws, like, flying out of the screen at you.
yeah, there's literally
An actual saw.
So I'm just gonna spoil it for you.
Oh yeah, go.
So
yeah, I
the
wanna
big
know.
twist at the end is that Carrie Elwes from the first movie
Uh-huh.
has been his like apprentice the whole time.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in 2 scenes maybe,
Yeah.
and at the end he just comes with a gang of pig masks and kills the other apprentice who's been like the bad guy for the past few movies,
Uh-huh.
and he locks him in the room.
Wasn't there a girl apprentice at one point?
Yeah,
Am
who
I
got
thinking
killed
about
by the other apprentice. But then the new apprentice kills him by locking him in the room from the first one. And then there's a scene where he holds the saw that he cut his leg off with
it? Uh-huh.
and looks at him and just goes, nah. And then he throws the saw in its slow motion coming at the camera. That's like
Nah.
it's like one of the last shots you see, and goddamn, that
And
movie's
is like
bad.
the main old guy in this?
No, he's dead. He
Yeah,
died
isn't
like
he
5
died in the
movies
three?
ago.
Yeah, in Saw 3. Yeah.
He died like 6 times throughout the series.
Yeah, he was like, please, write me out of this. I see where this is going,
Get me
everyone.
out. So, Paranormal Activity and Saw, you guys did not pull it off with your finales. I'm sorry. But glad to see it end. It needed to
Glad to see it
end.
end.
I just want to know what James Wan thinks.
Yeah.
Just like watching what he created become what it was. Just like, guys,
Really?
you missed
Nah.
out. Nah. So, continuing on to a great movie. The next day I watched The Visit.
Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D, the best 3D movie
Yeah.
since Avatar. But I watched The Visit, which is M. Night Shyamalan, in my opinion, coming back, hitting hard,
Yeah.
becoming the god that he used to be. Such a great movie, really freaking funny, and just a really like creative concept that's simple, but he does it really well and has some really great writing that's like self-aware, and it's basically him just making fun of his writing and just like kind of his reputation and having fun with it,
Nice.
which I like to see because there's a while where he kind of tried to counter that by just upping it
Yeah.
and be like, no, watch this.
I can do it, yeah.
Yeah. And it's the plants, actually. Look at my twist.
Look at
It's
Mark
like-
Wahlberg.
But this one has a really simple twist, but it's really good. It's just a
Nice.
really good twist that I like. It's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. And his new one coming out looks so good.
Yeah.
So-
and, I think him, like... I don't think he ever meant Sixth Sense to be the master hit that it was.
Yeah.
Like, I think he just got caught up in trying to make studio films.
Yeah, he was
So,
like, oh shit,
Yeah.
this is what I did. I need to keep doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he's back to making, like, the movies he wants to make.
Yeah.
Instead of making these big...
Too bad we'll
studio
never get that
ones.
last Airbender sequel, though.
Ah, damn it. They left it on a cliffhanger, too. Like,
They
never,
did!
We'll never know.
And so, for the sake of time here,
Yeah.
I'll cut out the humor. The next night, I watched The Babadook,
Wow, but-
which is one of my absolute favorite horror movies. So good.
Oh,
Such a
so
great...
Really good.
Like The Witch, it's terrifying, but it's also just really well made, really well written, well acted, and camera work is great. It does a lot of cool things that a lot of horror movies don't do, where it just like cuts randomly at parts you don't think it's going to cut,
Yeah.
and that has a really jarring effect, which adds a lot to the tension it's trying to build, and I really enjoyed that. So if Jennifer Kent comes out with any more movies, she's on my must-watch list now.
I'm pretty sure I heard she's got a new one coming out.
No, you didn't.
You're right.
Thought so. And then to finish off my month of horror and insanity, we watched Night Before Christmas, as Michael stated before.
Right.
Zane, we're running out of time here, man. You already had your play plugs in the past podcast, so we know you're an actor, all right?
Closing night. It's tonight. Wait until dark. It's the last night.
Starring Zane Garcia in 2 scenes, but great
In
scenes.
5 minutes of 2 hours.
Not trying to diss the show. It's a great show. You all should go see it. My scary movie that I finished it off with was the original John Carpenter's Halloween, which that movie still, what is it? Came out in like 76, I want to say. So what? 40 years now? Still holds up. I love that movie. That movie's so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's so simple. It's just freaking creepy. Michael Myers is walking around Illinois stalking Jamie Lee Curtis.
There it is.
Sorry, I had to do it with Michael. Color that.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, and it's just such an impactful movie. Like, watching it, you just, like, see other movies in there, and like, okay, so that's where they got that. Okay, that makes sense why, other movies use this as well. And I mean, it's just such a good movie that builds suspense without being over the top, bloody and gory or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And even
Until
though
Rob Zombie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Rob Zombie just had to just completely ruin everything that made Halloween Halloween.
Except
And
his
also-
was pretty freaking scary, I thought. Like,
Yeah, I mean the
his
first one's
freaked me
not
out,
bad.
yeah.
The second one's pretty bad.
Oh, did you make a second one?
Yeah, he made Halloween 2, and the whole time Michael Myers is like seeing visions of his dead mother riding a unicorn or something.
What?
It's
Strange.
it's a
It's like Rob
strange
Zombie.
freaking
Yeah.
movie, and like, yeah, the last like shot of the movie is like the girl in the hospital and the woman's like riding the horse down the hall to her. It's really bad. But the first Halloween is great. The sequels sucked. Even though they're what got me into horror movies. Oddly enough, I spent like
Yeah.
8th grade when I had stopped trick or treating because people wouldn't give me candy because I was too tall. They were just like, I was like, trick or treat, and this old Asian couple in my neighborhood was like, no.
No.
They're like, you too big.
YouTube.
I was like, you suck. So I stopped trick or treating, and I spent one Halloween just
Just watching Halloween.
eating chili and watching like Halloween
Chili.
Halloween 4 Revenge of Michael Myers.
Now that is a Halloween tradition.
And those movies are bad, but it's what got me over my initial fear of horror movies, and look at me now.
Just trumping through them.
Just sold one.
Yeah, you
Sold
did.
a horror movie, submitted it this week.
Bingo.
So watch out for The House That the Devil Built coming to theaters near you.
Watch out for The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Starring Anne Hathaway.
Same cast.
Now is
cast.
the devil.
The devil.
But here's the twist. She wears Prada.
From the mind of M. Night Shyamalan. And so yeah, that finished off my month of horror. And as much as I love horror, I am glad it is over because
It takes its toll. I'll just say that much.
when it's on like the 16th day, and you're just like, God, I have to watch another movie. That really messes with me.
I
It
don't
gets
feel safe
tiring.
in our home anymore. I'll just say that much.
It definitely makes you not feel safe in any situation. Anything.
Yeah.
But I love the genre. It's fun to do. I think I love horror just because it's like the only genre I know. It has the most emotional reaction from me, at least. Like it just has the most interaction during the film, just because I'm so freaking terrified the whole time. And like there are other movies that have emotional impacts and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's something about horror. It's just it's creative too.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
It is a genre that I think has the most creativity because
Yeah.
a lot of the Oscar winners out there these days are biopics or adaptations of something. So there's stories that have been there, like horror. The Witch hasn't been done before. The Babadook is a completely original story.
Yeah.
And, I mean-
Kiki's Delivery Service.
What?
Kiki's Delivery Service. She was a witch.
Yeah, the concept of witches is certainly not new. But sorry,
Hocus Pocus.
I spoke out of line, Zane. I apologize. And that's just my opinion. I understand a lot of people don't like horror, and I can understand why. Zane.
Oh, it just scares me too much. It's yeah.
Oh no, that's exactly it. I mean, I understand
Yeah.
why people don't like the film.
No,
of
I
being
agree.
scared.
Like it's probably the most creative form of film.
Yeah.
And, when it's done right, it's really really
Impactful.
powerful. Yeah. But yeah, it hits me too much, and I can't sleep after I watch them. So
That has too much emotional impact on you. So yeah, that finishes off for movies for me.
nice. Yeah, I think that's gonna cut it for us today, as we are
Probably should,
very
because we're about half hour over.
Yeah,
overdue.
so- but yeah, we will hopefully get another one next week. This one recorded all the way, so we had to kind of catch up some ground. But yeah, like Shane said, he just sold the movie. Wait Until Dark is closing tonight. So not a whole lot of work out there right now for us to report on. I don't know, Michael, you got anything in the works?
No.
Besides his hunt for the Illuminati.
Oh, always. That's a continued,
That's a continued search.
operation for
You
me.
should you should write a book on it or something.
I would love to.
Illuminati and me.
That's a
Illuminati.
Has the same ending as Marley and me.
Yeah.
Where the Illuminati dies.
Yeah.
You're just holding
Tragic.
it, just-
Tragic.
No!
No. We'll see if Owen Wilson can play me. I'll give him a ring.
Maybe you can reprise his role. What just happened? I died.
Wow.
Oh, I got sniped.
And the dog will play the Illuminati. Just a little puppy. Just...
If we get our way,
Yeah.
yes, that could happen. We'll have to see.
It all
But
depends on our budget.
Well, it depends
Appreciate
on
you
the
guys
budget.
having me on.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad you could come on for a
Yeah,
second
absolutely.
podcast because the last one's
Rest
gone
in peace.
For
Yeah,
Rest in
rest in
peace,
peace to the
last-
Forever Lost
Rip
podcast.
me, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Zane, you have a little send off for us? Usually the one who does that. Fulfill your role.
I don't know if I have one to actually. Like, I don't know. I don't have like a send off line, but yeah.
Good morning, Vietnam!
That'll do it for all of us here at Jus Dippin. As always, I've been Zane Garcia,
I'm Shane Black.
and guest today, Michael Lund.
Happy birthday, Michael!